This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, let's have some fun. It's time for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Sunday night, getting your week started here on the program. The NBA playoffs are underway. So are the Stanley Cup playoffs. We just had a great weekend on the Diamond. WrestleMania going on as we speak, just a couple miles down the road. We've got a locked and loaded show ready for you. Also, happy Easter to those of you like myself celebrating today. Hope you had a wonderful one and you're ending it the right way with me right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. How about this terrific guest lineup that our sensational producer Adam Bernard has put together for this one? We're going to be joined by one half of the terrific team that makes up Prop Points here on the network in his usual spot, Nick Whalen, hopping on in about 15 minutes. We'll live watch this Warriors-Rockets game together. Houston absolutely laying an egg right now, and we'll look ahead to the rest of the week in the NBA playoffs. Sean Higgs is going to join us in hour 2, hosting Midday Money over on the Believe Network, my old company, ironically enough. We're going to talk some baseball, NBA playoffs as well. And then Dennis Bernstein, after Sean in hour 2, we're going to break down the Stanley Cup playoffs with Dennis, who, of course, you can catch on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio. As far as those Stanley Cup playoffs today, my Devils got off to an atrocious start, and I think this might have been the most lopsided series from a price perspective. Carolina, a massive favorite, bigger favorites than either 1 seed going up against an 8 seed. I mean, Winnipeg, St. Louis is, far from a pick'em, but closer to a pick'em than the Devils and the Hurricanes. And obviously my Devils without Jack Hughes, that showed they had no offense, went down 3-0. Nico Hischier put one in for good measure, but Carolina comes out on top 4-1. And I really struggle to see this thing going past 5. I mean, I can't see a world in which the Devils get it back to the Prue, get it back to the Rock for a Game 6. Maybe they steal one, Game 3, Game 4 potentially. But I see a gentleman's sweep happening down there in Carolina. The Maple Leafs made a statement. This was, I would say, a much more live upset. Ottawa, Toronto. I was actually leaning at that price, plus $1.55, leaning towards the Senators in this one, and the Maple Leafs just came out of the gate like a bat out of hell, 6-2, getting that over home with ease on a 5.5 total. They will take on Ottawa again, Game 2, Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern. Live watching the Golden Knights right now against the Minnesota Wild. Don't believe we have that one on in the studio. Last I saw behind me, it was 1-1. Knights Wild. We'll pull up the live lines on that one now, but Minnesota had just gotten on the board. Vegas, a pretty heavy favorite in the series. In this game alone, the Knights longer than a $2 favorite against Minnesota, who were 2-1 themselves. NBA action, Golden State has now gone full embarrassment mode against Houston. They are making the Rockets regret waking up this morning. My goodness. 61-41. The Houston Rockets have 41 points with 7:20 to go in the third. My goodness. What an embarrassing score here for the Rockets. This is dreadful basketball. Warriors playing great defense. And that's why I like the Rockets in this series, because I figured on defense, they were just as good, if not better, than Golden State. Well, that's not the case here. First half, their defense was there. But this third quarter has been all Warriors. My goodness. What are they outscoring them here in the third alone? Got to be not pretty. 20, what are we looking at? 17-9 in the third quarter. That is not good. The Rockets put up just 13 points in the second quarter. They led 21-18 after the first. Since then, since the second quarter commenced, Golden State is up 47-22 in the last quarter and a half of basketball. That is absolutely embarrassing for the Houston Rockets. Outside of Şengün, I don't think anyone else showed up. He's got 18 and 7. Imagine that. They have 43. He's got 18. No one else has more than 5. Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green each have 5. Green's 2 for 10 from the floor. VanVleet's 2 for 9. I mean, when your backcourt is combined, shooting, 4 for 19? That's a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. Houston's 2 for 14 from beyond the arc. The Warriors, 9 of 21 from deep. Steph's got 3 threes. He's got 23. Jimmy's got 18. You know, we talked about it after the play-in game, right? I said Steph and Jimmy going for 75 is good and well, but are they going to go for 75 against the Rockets? Because outside of those two, Golden State doesn't have much offensively. Well, shoot, they might go for 75 in this one. This is embarrassing basketball coming from the Houston Rockets in this game. My goodness, it is steaming. Has anyone else noticed it is hot in this studio? I just looked over. I saw 72. What, does Greg Peterson keep it a sauna in here? My goodness. We'll have to do something about that at the break. I was like, am I that passionate about the Houston Rockets that I'm sweating right now? No, I look over and I like it at 65 when I'm in here. So maybe I'm a weird cat for that. But my goodness, Greg Peterson might as well have this place like a sauna. Here I was thinking the Rockets being down 23 in the third quarter was making me sweat. I was like, whoa, guys, I don't have that much on my futures ticket. I put a little sprinkle on them, 27-1. Not enough to make me sweat. You know who did make me sweat earlier today? How about Sunday Night Baseball? San Diego Padres went big on the Pods in that one. And that paid off as they just barely prevented a sweep in Houston. San Diego lost the first 2 games of the set. Believe it was the first time all year that the Houston Astros won back-to-back ball games. That's pretty insane if you ask me. But 3-2, the Padres prevail. They led it 2-0. Houston got 2 back. And San Diego, on a Fernando Tatis Jr. home run in the late innings off of Houston's bullpen, emerges victorious. 3 runs, 10 hits. Astros 2 runs, 7 hits. What does that tell you? A lot of bad hitting with runners in scoring position in this one. But both starters end up with a no decision. I thought Dylan Cease looked great, and he didn't go that deep. He ran into some trouble in the 5th when he gave up those 2 runs. 6 strikeouts. His slider was superb. His battle, and I call it a battle, not an at-bat. His battle with Christian Walker. And I know Christian Walker is slumping. He had his first big Astros moment yesterday on Saturday. Massive home run, the game winner for Houston. But 0 for 4 in this one, 3 strikeouts. He's hitting $156 on the year with 2 homers. I know, I get it. Christian Walker is struggling. That battle that Cease and Walker had in the mid-innings, I don't know if it was the 4th, the 5th, but Cease just threw him. He opened with a curveball, and then it was 6 straight sliders. And he ends up striking him out. You know, it was a 2-2 count, couple foul balls, but Cease really just tested him. Hey, you know it's coming. Come and hit it. And Christian Walker couldn't hit it. Cease's slider, 92 with depth. I was watching that like, my goodness. Got his fastball up to about 97, 98. But that slider, 91, 92. Different variations, sometimes a little more lateral, sometimes a little deeper in there. And that was just really strong pitching. Stressful 5th inning, so that's what probably took him out with 88 pitches. I mean, if you watch, he was sweating bullets out there. Valdez went 6 on 87 pitches, so you could argue both of those guys could have probably gone out there to start another inning, but I think both coaches managed pretty well. Scott, after 2 great innings out of the pen for Houston on Saturday, 2 really quick, efficient, economical innings, he's the one who in the 7th gave up the long ball to Tatis. Got 8 and 9 out fairly quickly. That was Wade and Maldonado at the bottom of the lineup. Maldonado 2 for 4 day, almost took Scott deep. And then Tatis, first pitch swinging, does take him deep as the Padres improve to a league best 16-6. How about San Diego? Best record in the bigs. The Dodgers right behind him at 16-7. My Mets right there at 15-7. I'll tell you what. After the Mets just complete the 4-game sweep over the St. Louis Cardinals, I think now is the right time to run down to that counter behind me and take a flyer on them. Plus 1250 here at Circa. It's the best price out there. You're looking 11-1 most other markets. I think now is the time to bet the New York Mets to win the World Series. Look at how they've started this season. 9-1 at home. Only 2 times in franchise history they started 9-1 or better at home. 1986, 9-1, they won the World Series. 2015, 10-0 on that opening homestand, which was my first homestand ever working for the Mets back then. And they go to the World Series. When's the last time the Mets swept the St. Louis Cardinals in 4 games? 1986. Look, I know a lot of this stuff tends to be coincidental more often than not. But think about this. Juan Soto has not even come close to peaking yet. And this Mets team is 15-7, a game behind San Diego, best record in baseball. I think now is the time to run down to that counter behind me and take a flyer on the Mets plus 1250 to win the World Series. No Sean Manaea, no Frankie Montas. All I heard was this pitching can't do it. They have the best staff ERA in Major League Baseball. I am all in on this New York Mets team right now. I don't know if you're going to get a better price than plus 1250. The pitching's going to get healthier. Juan Soto's going to get better. When are you going to do better than the price you're staring at right now? I think the answer is never. You look at this Phillies team, the bullpen has some major concerns. And I know that this team can hit, but there was no clutch hitting on Sunday. Jump out to a 3-0 lead in the first inning. You got Jesus Luzardo on the bump against his old team. Bullpen coughs it up with a 4-1 lead in the 7th. Give me a break. I don't trust this Phillies bullpen. The Braves are a disaster. Give me the Mets plus 1250. I'll take that ticket right now. You know what you should take right now, folks? An opportunity to go on your Las Vegas getaway. Circa Las Vegas owner Derek Stevens offering 15% off right now at his 3 incredible properties, Circa Las Vegas, the D, and the Golden Gate. Whether you're lounging by Stadium Swim right here at Circa taking in the games, or you're enjoying the rest of the excitement Vegas has to offer, you'll save big with the promo code VSiN15. So book your stay now, circalasvegas.com. Use that code VSiN15. You'll get 15% off. Your Las Vegas adventure starts here. Up next, we're going to live watch this Rockets-Warriors game and go over the first couple of days of the NBA playoffs with our buddy Nick Whalen from RotoWire. Don't go anywhere. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Easter Sunday night here on the program. And now, as we watch this Rockets-Warriors game, let's take you over to the Progressive guest line, bring in the co-host of Prop Points right here on the network, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern on weekdays, also senior editor over at RotoWire, senior analyst, excuse me, I want to get that right, Nick Whalen joining the show. My man, how was your weekend? How have you been enjoying these first 48 of the NBA playoffs?
It's been good, man. It's been good. Good to be back here on Easter Sunday, no less. I know last week when we spoke, I had just gotten back from Miami Beach. This week, I've just gotten back from rural Iowa, visiting my dad's side of the family. So I got to hang out with the grandparents, spend some quality time. You know as well as I do in these situations, it's always kind of a battle. Like, hey, would you mind if we could get this Knicks-Pistons game on, as soon as dinner ends? So you got the phone on your lap, you're sneaking to the bathroom, checking scores. So it was one of those weekends for me, a lot of streaming in the car, but I was able to watch almost everything.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there, man. You got a family function, right? Christmas is going on, and you're like, yeah, no, dating in L.A. is going great, Grandma. Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, yeah, no, I met a nice Catholic girl last week. Damn it, San Antonio. Come on, Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there with the phone on the lap at the dinner table. I know exactly what you're talking about. Meanwhile, you're like freaking where in the world is Carmen Sandiego right now? You're on the road every week. Where are you going to be next weekend, my man?
I'm going to be in fabulous Las Vegas next weekend. I'll be out there coming out on Wednesday. We're going to be doing Prop Points live at the VSiN studios over at the D on Thursday and Friday. Very much looking forward to that. And other than that, it'll be NFL draft. And we got 4 rounds of golf on the books. So a nice little annual golf trip with my college friends turned work trip / NFL draft watching weekend. So very much looking forward to that.
Unbelievable. Everyone out there watching is going to think that was staged, that I set you up for a little promo, that you'd be here doing the... I had no idea you're going to be in Vegas in a few days. That shows you folks, Nick really doesn't like me because he doesn't text me to say, hey, I'm coming to town. Let's grab a drink. Let's hit the links.
Hey, this is why you need to golf, man. You have made it clear many, many times on this program that you do not golf.
That is very true. That is very true. The Rockets might be meeting you for some golf soon the way this is going, man. They've cut it to 14, but it is a bloodbath. 13, excuse me. But an absolute bloodbath despite this 12-2 run Houston's on. What was your feel on this one pre-flop? Did you have any action? I know if you go to the VSiN.com picks leaderboard, folks, you're going to see Nick's name right there. He's 6 for his last 6. On the VSiN.com website. So he's been hot lately. What did you think about this one?
So my stance on this series all along, Joe, was that I am fine with the idea of Golden State being favored. I would actually pick the Warriors to win this series in probably 6 or 7 games. 7 would be more likely to me. I just had an issue with the opening price, right? Last Sunday night when everything finished up, the Warriors opened up, or excuse me, after the play-in on Tuesday when they beat Memphis, they were minus 250, very briefly, minus 250 at DraftKings, went down to minus 200, ended up closing minus 180 to win the series prior to tonight's game. I just thought that was ridiculous. I thought it was a little disrespectful to Houston. Now, given what we've seen over the last 2 hours, that looks ridiculous because of how bad the Houston Rockets have been tonight. But I did not end up betting game one specifically. I wanted to see how this played out. And the big question to me coming in was, could the Rockets repeat that defensive performance that we saw against the Warriors and specifically against Steph Curry 2 weeks ago when these teams played at the tail end of the regular season? They held Steph Curry to one of the worst games, not only in recent history, but of his entire career, 1 of 10 from the field. And the answer so far tonight has been a firm no. It's been a firm no, and I think, to me, part of the way to beat the Warriors is almost to allow Butler and Curry to try to do everything, kind of let them get theirs. You could beat them, if you're forcing the Guy Santoses and the Moses Moody's and the Brandon Pajemskis of the world to beat you, but it's been far too easy tonight for Stephen Curry, who's 10 of 14 from the field. Jimmy Butler, 7 of 13 from the field as we speak. And, Houston held Golden State under 50 points in the first half, but they put up 34 of their own. Quite literally the worst offensive first half of the entire season for this Rockets team.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, replicating that performance from a few weeks ago defensively, it's hard to complain about what they're doing here. Golden State's probably going to be under 75 going into the fourth quarter. It's just to your point. Offensively, the total that Houston's going to have, the output that they're going to have after 3 is going to look more reminiscent of a halftime total in the modern day NBA. This has been ugly. What about the first 3 games? Obviously, today it's been all 1s and 2 seeds playing. This series feels the least like a 2-7 because these teams are pretty evenly matched, but the others all felt like a 1-8 or a 2-7. Any thoughts on those earlier games where the double-digit favorite covered in all 3?
Yeah, I will say this was a great day to be keeping an eye on games while driving. You didn't really feel like you had to be dialed in on every single second of the Grizzlies Thunder in the early window. I mean, honestly, not much to say about that one, right? I mean, Desmond Bane set the NBA record for the worst plus minus ever in a postseason game. It was the biggest loss ever in game 1 of any playoff series in NBA history. And, OKC obviously started strong. I think they led by 12 at the end of the first quarter, and you're wondering, okay, as Memphis survived that initial run, can they get something going here? Can they cut this down to 6, cut it down to 8? OKC goes on a 23-2 run to start the second quarter. When Marvin Bagley III, the Marvin Bagley, former number 2 overall pick, is your leading scorer, that is a very, very bad sign in any postseason game. So I never really thought the Grizzlies had much of a chance in this series. I certainly didn't see that being as ugly as it was in game 1. I know OKC opened up as a 15-point favorite in game 2. Usually don't like touching lines that big, Joe, but based on what we saw earlier today, I think this OKC team just has so many advantages at every single spot. As far as Magic Celtics goes, that was one that I was on. I've been saying it on our show all last week. I'm on the Celtics to sweep that series. Got it at plus 105. Not a great price necessarily, but what we saw earlier today is the exact reason why. The Magic led this game at the half. I thought they executed pretty much exactly what they wanted to do. They dictated pace. They limited Jason Tatum. They held the Celtics to 15 3-point attempts, one of their fewest in any half this season. Banchero played well. Wagner played well. None of that mattered. I mean, the Celtics are the only team in the NBA, Joe, that can get away with multiple stars playing subpar games in the postseason. Derek White as your 4th option, giving you 30. Didn't matter that Jason Tatum wasn't that good. Didn't matter that Kristaps Porzingis had one of his worst games of the year. And Orlando's lack of a point guard, that's another thing that really jumped out to me. Yeah, the Jalen Suggs injury midseason really killed them. They just have no options. They got nothing out of Corey Joseph. You got the Cole Anthony miracle game in the play-in. That's not happening again. Anthony Black was a minus 15 in 14 minutes. So I really don't see Orlando finding a way to steal a game in this series.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't trust Kentavious Caldwell-Pope out there in the backcourt, then I don't know what I could sell you on with this Magic team in this matchup. Are we going to see totals creep down into the high 100s? I mean, this one was, 205, and it went way under. Are we going to see totals in the 197.5, 198.5 range?
I don't know that we're going to get there for game 2 on Wednesday, but it is currently 200.5 at the DK Sportsbook. So we will see. We will see. And you're kind of joking about KCP, but you're right, man. Like, there's no third option. There's no third option for Orlando, right? I think you could look at some of these other teams that fell in game 1. The Milwaukee Bucks, for example. Obviously you got what you expected out of Giannis. It's pretty easy to say, okay, if Lillard's back, obviously he's their number 2. You need more out of Kuzma. You need more out of Lopez. You need more out of Portis. Like you look at the Magic and who do you look at and say, all right, this guy really needs to step up, right? Is it like Wendell Carter? If he gives you 12 points, that's great. Jonathan Isaac, he really needs to do more off the bench. Like there's just no options. There's no options. They got 59 points out of Banchero and Wagner, and there's just no one else you can really count on to step up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see those totals creep down. And I mean, remember last year too, Orlando got off to a disastrous offensive start in that series against Cleveland. I think they scored like 85 and 83 points in the first two games of the series. So this is nothing new for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, that Magic Cavs series, which was a great series a year ago, was under almost every game. Hey, folks, want to remind you, check out the new and improved VSiN Watch app. The NBA playoffs are heating up, and we are breaking it all down right here at VSiN. From series odds to matchup breakdowns, you'll find more of our terrific NBA playoff coverage on the VSiN Watch app. Nick Whalen with us, co-host of Prop Points, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you catch his terrific work also over at RotoWire. Nick, Heat Cavs. Miami was kind of lingering first half, really first three quarters. Cleveland just separated themselves in the final 12 minutes here. Can the Heat steal a game? What's your prediction on this series? How competitive can the first 10 seed to ever make the playoffs be?
I think the Heat could steal a game. That's where I would draw the line. I don't see this going further than 5 games. I think if you're the Cavs, you would have rather faced the Atlanta Hawks. I know that the Hawks have actually played the Cavs okay this season. There's just something about Miami. You got to deal with Bam. You got to deal with Hero. You got to deal with the Heat culture and Eric Spoelstra. So I wouldn't be surprised if Miami could steal game 3 or game 4 at home. But I don't see this being necessarily a competitive back and forth series, right? I didn't think Cleveland necessarily played all that well. Evan Mobley was pretty quiet. Jared Allen, a small double tonight. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were solid late in this game, but who was it? It was Ty Jerome bringing it home for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is part of the reason that the Cavs are the Cavs. It's the reason they're the 1 seed, the depth that they have added and cultivated throughout this season, right? Bringing in someone like DeAndre Hunter, who only played 16 minutes in this game, went 0-4 from the field. Didn't even matter because you've developed someone like Ty Jerome who can give you that type of game off the bench. And, Miami, it feels like kind of a 2-man team right now. You can't really depend on Andrew Wiggins night to night. You can't really depend on a whole lot out of Davion Mitchell. So it's going to take one of those disaster shooting nights for the Cavaliers. They are prone to that every now and then, but I would not expect Miami to take more than a game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I see this being more like a gentleman's sweep. On the Celtics Magic side, I'm with you. I do see Boston in 4. We'll break down Monday's playoff games up next with Nick. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night into your Monday morning. Our friend Nick Whalen, the co-host of Prop Points right here on VSiN, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, with us on the Progressive Guest Line. Just found out Nick's going to be in town in a few short days for the NFL Draft. Nick, before we get into Monday's NBA playoff games, we'll get into Tuesday's games, some game 2s coming up. Your Milwaukee Bucks, we'll get into that all. Any big draft takes, any draft bets in pocket? I feel like this has been, from a betting perspective, one of the quieter drafts in recent years. Not a lot of bold takes, hot bets. What are you thinking about this? Anything in pocket?
Nothing in pocket right now. I mean, we've talked about a lot of draft plays, on our show, and we'll continue to do that, of course, in the week ahead. But the one thing I am really fascinated by, Joe, and you're right, I think part of the reason this has felt like somewhat of a quiet draft in terms of the action is it's just so confusing, right? I mean, so few things are feeling locked in right now compared to years past. It's kind of an odd draft in terms of the positions, right? You don't have a receiver-rich class. You don't necessarily have a clear-cut quarterback class, but I'm starting to buy in on the smoke with Jackson Dart, potentially going to New Orleans at number 9. Dart plus 350 right now to be a top 10 pick. I think there's a world in which both Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart are on the board for New Orleans at 9. And I think, if you're kind of just following the draft at a cursory basis, conventional wisdom would be, oh my gosh, Shedeur Sanders is there. He's the number 2 quarterback. You have to take him. I don't know if that's how the Saints view it. I really don't. If you follow the reporting out of New Orleans, I think if they have the pick of those 2 quarterbacks, I think they would go with Jackson Dart as of right now. So I think getting Dart, you could bet the exact market, of course, to go to New Orleans, but Dart just to go inside the top 10 to me at plus 350 is still one of the better values.
That's crazy. And if you want to play a little more conservative, Dart under 24.5 in terms of his pick position, his draft position, you'd have to lay 50 cents, but under 24.5 minus 150. And then, of course, it's not just the Saints. You also have the potential for the Steelers or whoever else may trade into the top 24 there for Dart. Let's talk NBA playoffs here. A couple of game twos on Monday, starting at Madison Square Garden with my Knicks hosting Detroit. Knicks laying 6.5 in this one, coming off a game one that wasn't pretty until it was really, really pretty, until they went on that 21-0 run in the fourth quarter. What's your take on game two? Does that finish carry over for the Knicks, or do the Pistons come out angry, hungry, maybe steal one or at least get within the number?
I lean toward the Knicks here at home, and it's a similar number to what we saw in game one. I think there are multiple ways you could read that game, right? Where, at the end of the third quarter, you're thinking Detroit's in position to steal this game one, to potentially take control of the series, put all the pressure on the New York Knicks to have to win game two. And then, of course, the 21-0 run happens, and you kind of see why there was some skepticism around this Pistons team. I mean, the way that I bet the series, Joe, is the under 5.5 games. I love this Knicks team. I love them almost to a fault. Wow. I think at times I've needed to kind of establish a backup plan with how the Milwaukee Bucks have looked so far. So I think I'll be attaching myself to the Knicks going forward. But one of the reasons that I really like the Knicks in this series is they have multiple defenders that they could throw at Cade Cunningham. And, Cade had 21 points, did have 12 assists in game one, but that was a hard fought 21 points. He did it on 21 shots, committed 6 turnovers. OG Anunoby is a problem for him. Mikal Bridges is a problem for him. Josh Hart is somebody that you could comfortably throw at Cade Cunningham. They even have, someone like Miles McBride you can get away with off the bench. And I mean, Cade Cunningham is the Detroit Pistons, right? They need him, and they need Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. to knock down threes. I just don't see that being a viable recipe to take more than a game off of a team that's as good as the New York Knicks. They just have too many matchup problems for Detroit. I mean, they were starting Tobias Harris guarding Karl Anthony Towns. That to me just shows that you have no faith in your starting center, Jalen Duren, being able to handle that. And I think there's a very real chance that Isaiah Stewart, who actually has defended Karl Anthony Towns very well throughout his career, I think there's a real chance he's not going to be out there in game two. He ended up getting an MRI on his knee after game one. They're calling him 50-50 to play. I wouldn't expect that to be the case. I think it has to be a little concerning for Detroit that they hit 15 threes. They shot 47% as a team. They got one of the great Tobias Harris games of the entire season, and they still found a way to lose by double digits. I mean, you could sell me, of course, on Detroit cleaning up the turnovers and keeping this close. I don't think they let it get away in the way that they did at the end of game one. But I like fading teams that are coming off of a spot where it feels like, man, that was our opportunity. That was the game we had to win. Trying to replicate that performance, building a lead at the end of the third quarter, it's tough for me to see that happening again.
Nick, I think that you're the first person I've spoken to since we've been breaking down the NBA playoffs who said under 5.5 games on this series. I was on the over. Everyone I spoke to seemingly was on the over. I'm a Knicks fan, and I think you have more faith in the Knicks than I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that run, and that entire run, that 21-0 sequence, that was all turning defense into offense. It was turnovers. It was buckets in transition. It was beautiful basketball. But what I saw the first 3 quarters left me kind of alarmed. And I hope, as a fan, I hope it carries over. But I don't know if I can get behind this team laying 6.5, 7 points on a consistent basis, because it feels like they're going to be laying that number pretty consistently. How about a team I'm laying a point with? The LA Clippers. I've already got this in pocket. Game 2. Had a money line plus $1.20. Game 1. Now I'm laying the point with them. Kind of surprised after the loss that all of a sudden they're favorites. What's your opinion on this line, and what's your opinion on the game?
I'm with you on the Clippers here. I'm a little surprised that they're favored on the road, but I think it speaks to the fact that if you watch this game on Saturday, I know the Clippers lost in overtime. They look like the better team to me. I thought if you break it down on like who played better for more minutes overall out of the 53, I still think the Clippers to me were the right side. There was a time that they led that game by 14-16 in the second quarter. They were up 11. They were up 11 with 2:20 left in the second quarter. And I think Denver being able to whittle that down to 4 points before the half was huge. But I'm on the Clippers here. I've been saying all along, I think this is probably a 7-game series. Going down 0-2, if you're the Clippers, it wouldn't mean it's over, but feels like you have to take this one. Again, they were the better team in game 1. I think the Russell Westbrook variance, there was some good, there was some bad in game 1. I think the good ended up outweighing the bad. Not sure you can count on that on a game-to-game basis. And a couple of things that I'm keeping an eye on, Joe, on the Denver side of things will be very interesting to see what they do with Michael Porter Jr. He was wildly ineffective, kind of their version of Kyle Kuzma, if you will. They took him out of the game around the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter, did not see the floor again. And I'm not sure that's something that would have happened under Michael Malone. Maybe that's, part of the reason that they decided to make that drastic change, but it resulted in 4 guys playing at least 45 minutes for the Denver Nuggets in game 1. I mean, can you continue to get away with that, depending on such a narrow tree offensively? So I think there's a lot of things here that push me toward the LA Clippers. As far as some props that I'm eyeing up, going back to the well on Kawhi Leonard, we're getting it at 24.5 for his points prop. I feel like he had a below average game 1, especially by Kawhi Leonard standards. Still got to 22 points. Christian Brown, 2+ threes is plus 215. I know it's Christian Brown. I know he's a bit player for them, but he's gone over that number in 12 of his last 22 games. He played 45 minutes in game 1. And I'm looking at Jokic over 21.5 assists plus boards. You basically know the rebounds are going to be there. The minutes are going to be there. He had 22 potential assists in game 1, the most of any player that we've seen throughout this opening weekend. So I think we're getting a pretty good number here for a guy who averaged 23 combined rebounds plus assists throughout the season.
Nick, can I sell you this pen on James Harden over 23.5 points or 9.5 assists?
Yeah, you can. I don't even mind combining those, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to find some positives for the LA Clippers, I mean, the big thing hanging over the series outside of, when is Kawhi Leonard's knee going to explode is, can James Harden finally be productive in a postseason setting? And look, Kawhi didn't have a great game, but James Harden was fantastic. I thought he was getting whatever he wanted, especially through the first 3 quarters, had some big moments down the stretch, 32 and 11 for him in game 1. The Nuggets don't really have a great matchup for James Harden. I mean, you can sell me on the idea of like Aaron Gordon, being a pretty decent matchup if that even exists for Kawhi Leonard, but they don't really have anybody to guard Harden. And maybe this does become, more of a James Harden series as this goes along. I would lean more on the assists than I would the points, but I don't mind either of those.
Gone over on assists in 6 straight. On points, he's gone over this mark of 23.5 in, what are we looking at? 4 of his last 6. And on this combo, 32.5, he's gone over that in 6 straight as well. I think this could be a James Harden statement series. Everyone coming in, James Harden in the playoffs, he stinks. I think James Harden might actually be the difference maker in this series. Nick, as always, fantastic stuff, man. Really appreciate you hopping on.
Hey, you bet, man. Hopefully I'll catch you in Vegas later this week.
We'll see you on draft night. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Whalen. The L is a 1. And make sure you check out Prop Points. Nick is going to be here in downtown Las Vegas for it later on in the week. Weekdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN. Folks, the NBA playoffs are here, and so is the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. We've invited 15 of the sharpest minds around the world of VSiN and Killer Sports to go head-to-head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 NBA playoff picks, all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. Picks are locked and loaded 1 hour before the first game of every day, so you'll have fresh insights to guide your bets every step of the postseason. Right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59, an unbeatable price. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up today. On the other side, more picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo. You don't want to go anywhere. Stay locked in to VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
How about those Houston Rockets? My goodness, there was a point in the game where they were looking more like the Radio City Rockettes than the Houston Rockets. But here they are, down 3. They were down 20, more than 20, not too long ago. 6.5 minutes to go, fourth quarter, Rockets down 3. They are currently make it down 4 as Podziemski hits the back end of a couple free throws. So 77-73, Rockets ball. They're catching 4.5 on the live line, minus 25 cents. If you think Houston pulls this off, you can get in on the money line, plus 220 for the Rockets in this game. My goodness. Houston storming all the way back. This is going to be a fun watch for the final 6.5 minutes. Man, free throws. Golden State, after Podziemski hits the second, 11 of 14. Houston, 9 of 18. I mean, that's the difference in this one right now. I mean, Houston down 4. If you're 13 of 18, which is not great by NBA standards, boom, tie game. Golden State turns them over, gets the ball back. We'll see what the Warriors cook with here. Great ball movement from this Golden State team. It really is. I saw a funny video the other day on TikTok as they hit a jumper, make it a 6-point lead. That was pretty much talking about how this Warriors team got started and just all the off-ball movement and finding the open guy. And it really, I mean, that's one thing. Names have changed. Players have come and gone. That ball movement, the screens, off-ball screens, and just constant ball movement. And no one really, not named Steph Curry, or I guess now in this case Jimmy Butler, taking more than 2 to 3 dribbles with the ball at any given time. That has stayed constant and consistent with this Golden State team over the past decade. I got to say, I know we're talking about a TikTok on air right now, but it was really accurate as to just how this Golden State offense got moving. Rockets answer, a little fadeaway of their own. 4-point game, 5.5 to go in H-Town. This would be, by the way, for Rockets backers, an enormous steal of a game one. This would be huge. If the Rockets can steal a game from the Warriors where they were down, 61 to 41, maybe worse. What's Houston on? Like a 34 to 18 run right now, spanning about a full 12 minutes. Their defense has totally and entirely clamped down. This is beautiful basketball. A great series for unders, by the way. What was the pre-flop total in this one? I know it was low. I don't know. Was it as low as the Celtics Magic? 213. So no, Celtics Magic closed 205, 204.5. This one, the second lowest total of the day. Cavs Heat 215.5. That went over. Oklahoma City Memphis, 231.5. What was the final again there? 231.5. And it goes under 130. The Thunder scored 131, and that thing stayed under by 20 points. That's remarkable. That is absolutely crazy that one side put up a $131 and that thing stayed under by 20 points. If the Grizzlies scored 100 or 101, they lose by 30 and the game goes over. 80. That's embarrassing. Golden State's got it back up from 4 to 7 here. 4.5 minutes left. This is going to be some series. You know what series we haven't even gotten to yet? I could not believe my eyes. Game 1. Timberwolves Lakers. I mean, that was a game. I'd be lying if I said I stayed into it past midway through the third quarter. It became evident the Lakers weren't coming back. And that was a game I just couldn't even keep my attention to the TV screen for that one. That was a painful watch. Who had Minnesota going to crypto, beating the Lakers by 22? My goodness. Great performances. Naz Reid, how you doing? 23 points. Jaden McDaniels. Who had him on your bingo card to be the Minnesota Timberwolves leading scorer with 25? Jules, 16, 5 and 5. Ant-Man, 22 points, 9 assists, 8 boards. Under on his point prop, but did everything else and did it really well. Houston's going cold from the floor now. Inside 4 minutes to go, still down 7. Warriors were pushing it, going to slow it down as they should. Luka showed up for the Lakers. LeBron, not his best performance. 8 of 18 from the floor. 19 points, 5 boards. Good defensive game for LeBron. 2 steals, 3 blocks. How about that? That had to go over every number, whether it was just straight steals, obviously blocks, steals and blocks combos. But offensively, a little shy. Under points, under boards, under assists. Luka, on the other hand, 37 points and 8 rebounds for the Lakers. Outside of LeBron and Luka, only had one other Laker in double figures, Austin Reeves, 16. Reeves had 3 threes. Luka had 5. Rest of the team was absolutely atrocious. Those two guys were 8 of 18 from beyond the arc. The rest of the squad, 7 of 23. Not good. Not a good shooting night for the Lakers when Minnesota looked like the Alabama Crimson Tide out there. 21 of 42 from 3. Timberwolves, 50% from 3. 51% from the floor. Big night for Minnesota. That game, too, not on Monday, Bucks, Pacers, Lakers, Wolves, those game twos, they're going to get 2 days off between 1 and 2. Those game twos on Tuesday, along with game 2 of Memphis, Oklahoma City. Lakers, they're bigger favorites for game 2 than they were game 1. Gotta love how the market prices these, right? Lakers laying 5.5 game 2 against the Wolves. But I guess they're, expecting a bounce back spot. Pacers laying 4.5. Obviously, I got to see what's up with Dame, if he's going to come back for this one or not, if we've got official word on that, which we'll probably get, I'd imagine, on Monday, tomorrow. But I'm inclined to look Bucks here. I know game 1 was an embarrassment. I might look Bucks money line plus $1.60. We're going to wait till tomorrow before anything's decided, and you'll find out on tomorrow's episode of Cashing Out what I get to the counter on. But that's what I'm leaning towards. Early look ahead to Tuesday. Only play for any game 2. In pocket, Clippers, -1. Lock it in. Final answer. And I might get there on some James Harden props as well. We were talking about that with Nick Whalen. And my problem is I almost want to bet too many Harden props. 23.5 points, which, by the way, that is actually the prop market. There's so much variance in prices and sometimes in just the straight number, what the number is. Harden's points, 23.5 across the board. And it's about 10 cents across the board, ranging from 10 to 15 cents with a straight 20 cents out there. But, you look at this, and he's gone over it, 4 of 6. And when he's gone over it those 4 times in his last 6, he's gone 29 plus. 29 against Dallas. 35 against this Rockets defense that's incredible. And, hey, they even hit a free throw. Cut it to 8, did Houston just now. 39 at Golden State, another really good defensive team. 32 at Denver, last game of the regular season. Dimes, he's gone double digits 6 straight. 11, 10, 10, 10, 12, 14. Over 9.5 assists. -5 cents. That's hard to resist for me. And then the combo, you're getting 32.5, which is a good price. It's a better price than if he were to go over on points and over on assists separately. You're looking at 24 and 10. So you're looking at 34. So you're getting 1 point/assist shaved off the combo, but you're paying 20 cents. So you're paying a little extra juice there. Best price, FanDuel Boyd. Actually, yeah, FanDuel Boyd and DraftKings are the only 32.5s I'm looking at here. And they're juiced 20 and 25 cents respectively. 33.5 you can get at MGM -105. That 33.5 in line with the points 23.5 and the assist 9.5 if he were to go over both of those. So DraftKings and FanDuel will save you a point/assist, but you're going to have to cough up an extra 15 cents compared to BetMGM. We'll figure out what direction we're going in. Nick brought up a great point, though. What answer do the Nuggets have defensively for Harden? You've got Aaron Gordon's athleticism, at least, when it comes to Kawhi. Even though, a bit of a size mismatch, I think Kawhi is a little quick for Gordon. But, Kawhi also, while he's quick, a little fragile. I think Kawhi, points play there could be a good one. He could be prime and due for a big game as Houston hits a 3, cuts it back to 4, 2.5 minutes to go. My goodness. But right now, James Harden looks like a man on a mission. Not just a man on a mission to win games in this 2025 NBA postseason, but to change the outlook and the reputation he's carried with him for over a decade about what he does in the playoffs. Hey, folks, the NFL Draft starts on Thursday, and VSiN knows that every pick matters. Tune in for 2 special live shows breaking down every pick from a betting perspective. VSiN Primetime Draft Edition, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by, who else? This guy, myself, Cashing Out, Draft Edition, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Where the hell would you rather be? Nowhere. That's your answer. Plus, you can explore our NFL Draft Hub on the VSiN Watch app, featuring exclusive analysis, team needs, and insights. Go to VSiN.com/draft for full coverage and stream it all live on the VSiN Watch app. Golden State answered with 5 straight points. They're up 89-80, minute 43 to go in H-Town. Looking bleak for the Rockets. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.